This is Grow a Garden, and this is also Grow a Garden, because in today's video, I built 15 different Grow a Garden plants inside of Bloxburg. Hey glossettes, welcome back. How are you guys doing today? Now in this video, of course, we'll be building some Grow a Garden plants inside of Bloxburg. I'm so excited for this one. I've even built like a little Grow a Garden kind of garden area thingy, so we actually have somewhere to build these things. Look at my little sign, how adorable is that? Yeah, it looks super cute, but of course, before we get started, we of course need the plants that we're actually gonna build in here. So what we're gonna do is very quickly hop into Grow a Garden and actually take a look. Okay, here we go. We are inside of Grow a Garden, and I actually have my kind of like second plot loaded in because I've actually placed down one of every single plant we will be building today, except it does seem that the fairies have kind of ruined half my plants. Just pretend everything looks normal, okay? But we are going to start off over here because the first two things we're going to build are two common plants, and that is the carrot and the strawberries. We're also going to build these two uncommon plants. We have the blueberry bush and we have the orange tulip. Then over here in the rares, we have a tomato plant and a serenity plant. We also have in the legendaries, we have a pumpkin, which is kind of hiding in there. And then we also have the firework flower from I think the 4th of July update. If we go over here to the mythicals, we're going to build a kiwi plant, and then the other mythical we're going to be building is the moon melon, but I don't have one of those. Moving on to divine though, we have a mushroom, and then the other thing we're going to be building is a candy blossom, a fan favorite, but I don't have one of those either, okay? So we're just going to have to use pictures. Moving on to prismatic, we are going to be building a beanstalk. This one is absolutely humongous, and we're also going to be building a burning bud, which is one of these with the most pathetic burning bud flower I have ever seen on the top. We're gonna make ours cooler than this, okay? Then finally, we are gonna be building the only transcendent in the game, which is the bone blossom. So that is how we are gonna finish off the video, but that is pretty much everything we're gonna be building. So I am gonna hop back into Bloxburg and we are gonna begin. I am gonna hop into build mode and we are gonna get started, which means we are starting with the carrot and the strawberry, which are probably gonna be some of the easier ones that we're gonna build today. Now, of course, for this, we are gonna be using a ton of basic shapes, and I think for the carrot's probably the most easy. I'm gonna make it bigger than the one I had in Grow a Garden, just so you can kind of see it better. Also, for all of the textures and stuff on the plants, I feel like when you think of Grow a Garden, you immediately think of the kind of old Roblox stud texture that they use, and we don't have that in Bloxburg, okay? There is no way I can make that unless I kind of did a really insane decal trick or something, which I feel like I'm not capable of doing. So what we're gonna do is we're basically gonna do them in like normal textures, and it's kind of just gonna be obviously Grow a Garden plants inside of Bloxburg, so they're gonna look kind of more Bloxburgy. But the carrot is so easy. I'm just adding kind of like the leaf kind of things around here. Okay, there we go. Now we just need to add some color to this thing. So this is the green. I'm just kind of adding the snow texture because it adds a really nice kind of like tiny bit of texture without being too much. I think that looks pretty good for a carrot. So now what we're gonna do is lower it into the ground. But look at that. That is our first Grow a Garden plant. Oh my god, should I kind of copy and paste it and have like a little field of them? Wait, I want to do that. Oh my god, I should have made different sizes, but I feel like the plot data is gonna be high enough as it is with this build. Okay, there we go. This is our little kind of carrot area. That was so easy. This is not going to be as hard as I thought it was going to be. Okay, next up we have the strawberry plant. This is slightly more complicated than the carrot. Obviously, we have the kind of plant itself and then the actual strawberries. So we're gonna have to try and make this. And the strawberry plant itself is kind of confusing to look at. Like, I'm not really sure how this kind of looks. Okay, I'm gonna figure this out. So I think it's like a bunch of different leaves. But what we're gonna do is to kind of save time is I'm just gonna make this one square because that's kind of how it looks. It looks like it's a big square like this. And then it has like tiny leaves on the top. Okay, maybe this is getting more complicated already. Oh no, it's gonna actually be difficult to do. What on earth is this? Okay, I'm gonna have to actually make like the little leaf kind of things. So they're kind of like little diamonds. Like, I'm looking at a picture right now. Oh, it's just started raining outside. Great. And they're kind of like on the corners, and then it goes like down like this. This is looking better. I have a good feeling about this technique. This is a lot more accurate to what it actually looks like. You know what I was thinking as well? So I honestly don't play Grow a Garden that much except on Saturdays for like the updates. But what I'm really excited for is their seasonal updates, because I'm guessing they're gonna do like a Halloween themed update, a Christmas one, and I just love any seasonal update in any Roblox games. Like, I just find them so fun. So I think I'll probably play a lot more when it's kind of like that thing, especially Christmas. Like, it doesn't matter what game it is, I will play their Christmas update. I don't play Adopt Me like ever, but every Christmas they add like this thing where the river around their town freezes and you can ice skate on it, and then you can collect these gingerbread, and I play it every single day throughout December just because I love the seasonal thing. Also, this texture kind of reminds me of like the studs. I feel like that looks kind of accurate. I mean, it doesn't look very good on the carrots, I don't think, but yeah, I can't wait to see what they do in Grow a Garden for Halloween. That's kind of like next. It's October next month, so I wonder what they're gonna do. Okay, that's a kind of a cute texture, and that is like the basic kind of shape. So what we're gonna do now is build the actual strawberries, which are kind of like the carrots, just kind of like squished. Does this look like a strawberry? It kind of looks like a tomato, but I think that's kind of cute. So we're gonna add this now. Oh my god, the rain outside is getting so loud. We're gonna add this onto our strawberry plant. I added another strawberry plant there, but this is both of our common plants completed. So now we're gonna move on to uncommon over here, which is of course the blueberry bush and the orange tulip. Now the blueberry bush is gonna be pretty easy because it's just squares, honestly. The tulip on the other hand is gonna be slightly more difficult, but we won't worry about that right now. We'll start with the blueberry. Now the bush itself is normally made out of two parts. There's normally kind of like a bigger one here, and then we have a smaller bit kind of over here. For such simple designs, I really do feel like all the plants and stuff are really well made. Like, it's just cubes, but it looks so effective. But we're gonna add this texture on this as well, kind of similar to the strawberry plant, and then we're gonna make the little blueberries. Now these are so easy, so I can definitely make kind of like different size of these. Weirdly enough, I love the taste of blueberries, but I hate actual blueberries. Like, I hate eating them. I can't eat the actual fruit, but I just love the taste. So I have like a lot of like blueberry smoothies and stuff because it just tastes so good. But like blueberry itself, like the texture, I just hate it. I'm just gonna add these. I feel like they're quite low on the ground. Like, they don't really have them randomly at the top on the plant. They're always kind of around the bottom. So I'm gonna try and be accurate and just add them quite low. There we go. That is the blueberry bush all complete. And now we have to move on to the orange tulip, which I feel like is gonna be kind of tricky. It's kind of a more unique shape than just like squares. So starting off with this one, we are gonna make the kind of stem. And now for the hardest bit, which is the actual kind of tulip head itself, which actually looks pretty difficult. Like, it's kind of a weird shape. Let me figure this out. So if I make this a bit smaller, okay, we're gonna do this. It's got like these, how do I do the side bits? What if I do like this? Okay, wait, okay, I got this. We just need to add these kind of rotated on every side. So the tulips are all done, and I added a few more of these as well, which means our uncommon section is now complete. So we're gonna move on over here to the two rare plants we have to do. And this section actually has a plant that isn't in the game right now, which is the serenity plant. So we're gonna make the tomato plant and the serenity plant, and the more the sections go on, the more we're gonna have some kind of rare plants, I guess, that are kind of from older updates. Now we're gonna start with the tomato because I feel like this is gonna be the easiest. I'm googling images of the plants for like references, and I keep having to write Roblox in the search because it just brings me up pictures of like normal tomato plants, even if I put Grow a Garden in it. Now that we have the base done, we can move on to the actual tomatoes, which are just round. So these should be pretty easy. I'm gonna steal the color from the strawberries, and then we're just gonna make these around this big. And then for the top, all we have to do is add some kind of tiny square parts. There we go, easy peasy. Now we just have to put these on the plant. And here we have our tomato plant. So now it's time to move on to the serenity plant, which is slightly more complicated. Now this is kind of similar to the shape of the blueberry bush, where it's just made up of squares. However, the flowers are actually kind of tricky looking, so I'm a bit nervous for trying to figure out these ones. I can just tell that a couple sections from now, this is gonna get so hard to do. So this is the bush, and the flower itself is made up of kind of tiny little panels. So we're gonna make these out of this kind of basic shaped square. I'm just trying to get the color right because it's kind of like a peachy pink like this. We're gonna use this one as like a little base to build off of so we can copy and paste, and then we're just gonna add kind of panels like this around the whole thing. I think one of my favorite Grow a Garden updates has to be the one that this plant was from, which was the Zen update. That one was actually really fun, and they added a lot of really cute plants. And the dinosaur one, I thought the kind of dinosaur one had a great kind of range of plants as well. But yeah, once again, I just can't wait to see what they do for like Halloween. Imagine like pumpkin plants. Well, we have a pumpkin plant, but like themed pumpkin plants, like spooky ones. This is looking pretty good. It's kind of reminding me of like a pom-pom or something. We just need to add a few more of these. There we go. That is kind of like the base of the flower complete. And now what we're gonna do is just with a structural rod, we are gonna add on the little kind of yellow bits in the middle. So there's just kind of like two yellow sticks or something. So we can just very easily place these like this. Ta-da! Wait, this is actually adorable. I think that looks pretty good. This is definitely my favorite so far. This just looks adorable. So after I completed the rares, I then moved on to the legendary section, which was the pumpkin and the exclusive firework flower. Starting with the pumpkin, it was literally the easiest thing in the world. It was just a giant orange cube and then like a tiny stem on the side. So it took me all of 30 seconds to build, but then the firework flower is of course a bit more complicated. This one has a lot of different stripy colors, so I had to individually place them in different kind of block layers, and then of course make the giant firework shape on the top. But once that was done, I made like the little kind of firework shape thingies coming off the side, which actually look adorable, and then added them onto the stem, and then that was all of the legendaries complete. So let's move on to the mythicals. Okay, it's time for another fruit that isn't actually in the game anymore, the moon melon and the kiwi tree. And the kiwi tree is what we're going to start with, which is weirdly enough one of my favorite trees in the game. Also the first tree we're building in this video. In my garden, I have kiwi trees kind of like lining the sides of these things, so it makes like a little tunnel, and it's so cute. Actually, why am I starting with the leaves? What we need to do is start with the trunk. So we're going to start with the tree trunk, and it's kind of a very weird grayish wood color. It's kind of green, like it's got some green in it. I would kind of say like this color. So I'm just going to attempt to kind of piece this together. On the topic of kind of like building other Roblox games in Bloxburg, obviously I did my Dress to Impress one last year, which you guys loved so much. That is actually my most viewed video ever, which was crazy. But people have been asking me to do it again, which I am planning on doing. But I also have some kind of other games I want to do. There's one in particular that I've been waiting to do, and I can't yet because they have such an iconic kind of lobby, and it's also been requested a lot, but I can't actually build it yet because they currently have their summer update in game. So the lobby is completely different. I feel like you guys can probably guess which game I'm on about, but I'm basically waiting for them to change back to a normal lobby. Watch, knowing my luck, they'll immediately switch from summer to Halloween instead, and I just have to wait even longer. See, now I can start kind of piecing together the tree. Now that we have the base done, we can add kind of like smaller chunks of leaves in different colors, and then of course the kiwis. I feel like I've kind of forgot I have to do those too. I think that is good enough. There we go. So now we just have to add the actual kiwis, which are pretty simple. They're kind of like the strawberries, just with an extra little bit on top. So I'm just gonna steal the strawberries, make this a tiny bit bigger, then add the kiwi color, which is kind of like a brown green color. Not even green, it's just brown. I didn't know where the green came from. And then we just need to add like a little stem and kind of leaf on the top. Okay, here we go. We can now add these onto the trees. Oh, this looks so cute. Just add these on the little branches under here, and there we go. We have our kiwi tree all done. So now we can move on to the moon melon, which I've actually not seen properly before because I never played the game when this was in game. But from the images on Google, they do look fairly simple. So the kind of plants just basically look like this, with like kind of moon melons hanging off them. They look kind of simple. Now that this is done, we can actually move on to the melon itself, which actually looks kind of cute. It has a bit more detail than some other plants we've done. It's kind of very plum colored, so I'm just gonna try and get the colors right. It's kind of a mix between like a purpley pink. I would say kind of like this for the... oh, I just got rid of the color. I would say kind of like that though, like this kind of shade, maybe a tiny bit darker, and then it kind of has like little bits on the outside. It kind of reminds me of like a present that was like wrapped up with like the bits sticking down the side. So we're just gonna add these. See, it actually kind of just looks like a present shape. Okay, and then on the top it has a little kind of square area and then like a stem hanging off. Here we go. This is our moon melon, and now what we can do is we can just kind of like rotate them and add them onto the little plant over here. And I'm gonna leave one just kind of sat upright at the back because I think it looks kind of cute, but there we go. Our mythical section is all done, and now we can move on to divine. And this is kind of where it gets exciting. I feel like these are a couple of my favorite plants. We have the mushroom and another one that isn't in game anymore, the candy blossom, probably the most popular plant in the game of all time. But before we get on to the candy blossom, we are going to start with the mushroom, kind of an easy one. I also feel like the mushrooms come in like really cute colors. So the first thing we have to do is make the stem, which is kind of made out of two little blocks. So this one can go here. We're going to do kind of like a giant one. Oh my gosh, I can like copy and paste this and I can have different colors. That is going to be adorable. So this is the stem of the mushroom. Then for the mushroom itself, obviously it is kind of round, but it's also still built out of blocks. So this is kind of a complicated one. It kind of reminds me of doing pixel art in Bloxburg, which is kind of fun. Oh my god, wait, my mouse has run out of battery. Oh no, I can't click anything. Okay, I'm gonna have to, I can't even end the recording because it's got no charge to click end. Let me deal with this quickly. Okay, so I'm back. I charged my mouse. I also finished the kind of top bit of the mushroom except the spots. And then we're gonna move on to the candy blossom, which I'm actually pretty excited for. But honestly, this mushroom is adorable. This whole build is kind of making me really want to do a lot more custom landscaping in Bloxburg, like maybe making my own trees, because I think this tree came out really nicely. So there we go. So now all the mushrooms are done. We're gonna move on to the candy blossom, what you've all been waiting for. I think this is gonna turn out adorable. Now the candy blossom is definitely slightly more complicated than the other plants we've done. It's very similar to the kiwi tree, or it's more of a unique shape. So this is kind of gonna be maybe a bit more difficult than I was expecting. It's definitely gonna turn out super cute though. So I'm just gonna work on the kind of tree trunk thing. Anyways, do you guys want to know what happened like 5-10 minutes ago? Literally just before I started recording again. So basically, as I've said in a million videos recently, I recently moved house and now I have like an attic bedroom and my office is in the attic and stuff. And this means my windows are obviously like built inside the roof. Like I have kind of like the slanted windows. And one thing I didn't consider that I didn't really think about before I moved into this room was the fact that birds obviously sit on the roof. And that's been fine until like a few seconds ago where a crow tried to get in my room. So I've just been sat in my office kind of building away when I was finishing the mushroom, and all of a sudden and the window's open behind me because it's like it's boiling hot in an attic bedroom, so I kind of need the air. I hear this crow land on the roof. I don't think anything of it because they do that all the time. However, it started to get incredibly loud and I was kind of just like, oh my god, it's so noisy. Like why can I hear like it this kind of clearly? And I look up and the attic windows are obviously the ones that kind of like spin, so when you open them they kind of go flat, if that makes sense. And I look up and there's just a crow staring down at me, sat on my window, pretty much in my room, like it was trying to get into my office. And it actually gave me the heart attack of my life. Like I was scared to move because I was scared I was gonna like, I don't know, like startle it if I got up, and then maybe it would like come into my office and start flapping around, because my office is really small as well. Like I didn't want it to get stuck in here because then I would be stuck in here with it. But thankfully it just kind of looked at me and then sat there for a few seconds and then flew away. But now it's freaked me out because I'm like, I don't want to open my window. Anyways, we have the rough shape of kind of like the candy blossom tree, and now I'm gonna attempt to try and put like the leaves on here. Why is it kind of giving like those trees from that Lorax movie? So it's been like 20 minutes and I finally finished the candy blossom kind of tree base. I don't know why it took me so long to get kind of like the tree parts how I want it to look, but I think this looks pretty good. So now we're gonna move on to actually making the little kind of candy blossoms, which looks pretty easy to do. I feel like every kind of fruit kind of follows a very similar shape. I think the candy blossom might be one of my favorite plants in the game because it's just so adorable. I don't have one obviously, and I never will because I don't think they're ever gonna bring it back, but here we go. It kind of looks like a weird egg. Now all we have to do is add the stick on the bottom and then it's done. And now we can add it on the tree. Wait, this is so cute. Okay, this is definitely my favorite. Okay, there we go. That is the candy blossom all done. How good does this look? And with the mushrooms too, like this is the best section out of all of these. So that's the divine section done, and we are now going to move on to the prismatics. And in this section, we're going to be building a beanstalk and the burning bud. So we're going to first start with the beanstalk. This kind of looks easier than the burning bud. We only have 3 more plants to build actually. So the beanstalk base looks pretty easy to do. It's kind of like a cross, so it's like this part and then this on the other side. So if we put this in here, this is pretty much the part they're made out of, and it just kind of slowly twists like this and gets smaller as it gets to the top. Okay, this is far too chunky. I need to slowly start making the parts smaller and smaller pretty much each time I kind of add a layer. Finally, the beanstalk is done. It's a tiny bit wonky, but I think it looks kind of accurate. So now what we're gonna do is add the leaves and then the actual like beanstalk kind of plants, I guess. Now the leaves on this are honestly kind of like a house shape. Like they're kind of like a square like this, and then they have like the triangle of a house on top. I don't know. I just look at them and they remind me of the shape of a house. And then the bottom bit is kind of just like a little stem to attach it to the beanstalk. It's so hard when I'm making builds that are similar to this, where it's just like a ton of basic shape builds, because it's like, okay, what do you want me to say? What am I meant to commentate? Like, now I'm just adding a square onto another square. Like, it's so difficult. I finished off the beanstalk by adding some more leaves and then making the actual little kind of beanstalk plant thing. After that, I then moved on to the burning bud, which was not so easy. The burning bud stem is made up of little layers, and each layer has like 4 parts sticking out on each side, so almost like mini flowers. So I made this layer and then I copied and pasted tons of them and added this into like the big stem shape, which took a lot longer than expected as they were pretty hard to transform. But once that was done, I moved on to the actual flower. And burning buds are basically made up of 2 flowers, a big one on the outside and a small one in the middle. So to make this, I had to make a large petal from a burning bud, which is made up of different squares, and then I made a smaller version, and once these were done, I then transformed them onto the stem, making the shape of a giant burning bud. Once the big one was done, I then did the same with the smaller version of the petals on top, and this took such a long time, but eventually it was done, and honestly, I think it came out super cute. The burning bud actually looks adorable. I love it. But we are going to move on to our final plant build, which is a a transcendent, and the only transcendent plant in Grow Garden is actually the bone blossom. So this is what we're going to be building for our final one. Now this one's kind of more complicated than the other ones in terms of the kind of tree trunk, I guess. Like it's more twisted in the images that I've seen. So we're going to make this like an off kind of white bone color, kind of like this. And the very bottom of the trunk is made up of quite a lot of pieces, so I'm gonna have to make it smaller. It kind of goes up in like small cubes. It also kind of bends, so I'm gonna have to try and recreate that so it kind of bends this way. It's a weird shape. It kind of reminds me of those, you know, those like fidget slug things. That's kind of what it's giving right now. Okay, so it bends like that, and then it suddenly kind of goes straight up, but like the other way. So I'm gonna have to do like that, and then it kind of goes off in all different directions. So this should be a good height. I don't want to do it too big because it'll hit into the burning bud. So we're gonna kind of do a smaller one, but we just have to kind of do a bunch of branches now going off. Here we go. We have the base of the tree trunk, and now we just have to add the actual kind of leaves. They're kind of like a very faint orange, kind of like this. So we're just gonna add a bit of the color. That looks pretty much perfect, and now I just have to actually add this everywhere. Okay, I think that is enough kind of leaf area. I think that looks pretty good, but the last thing we have to do is make the actual bone blossoms, and these shouldn't be too difficult. They're pretty easy to do. It's just kind of a bit of like a round square with very square bones, because everything's obviously so square because of the style of the game. It is so easy to recreate, which makes it far easier for me to make a bunch of plants. Like I've done all of this in one day. Like this is so easy. If you guys enjoy this video, I can definitely do a part 2. Here we go for the bones. We just have to do this and then make 2 little cubes, and then we can add these off the sides. Here we go. Here is our bone blossom all complete, and now we just need to add this onto the tree, the very last step, and we are pretty much done. That is the bone blossom tree all done. So what we're going to do now is have a little tour of all of our plants. Okay, here we go. We are going to take a look around our little garden, and of course we have to compare these things to the actual plants in Grow a Garden 2. Starting with our comment section, we of course have our carrots, which I think look pretty accurate. I think we've done a pretty good job. These were definitely the easiest of the video. And then of course we have our little strawberry plant too. Another very cute one. I kind of wish I made the plant itself a bit bigger though, because the strawberries kind of just absorb it. But this is our comment section, definitely the most plain. I think it definitely gets more exciting as the video goes on. Next up we have our uncommons. So we have our blueberry bush here, which I think looks pretty good. You can't really mess this one up. It's just squares. And then of course we have our tulips too, which I don't think look bad. If we move on to our rare section, we have our tomato plants and our serenity bush. So if we take a comparison, I think these look pretty good. They look pretty accurate. Maybe the kind of stem colors a tiny bit off. And then of course we have this one, this super cute one. This is definitely one of my favorites. I love the flowers. Moving on, we have our legendary section, which was probably the easiest one aside from the carrots. We have our pumpkin. Once again, there's no way you could mess this one up. It's just a giant square. And then we have our 4th of July fireworks flower. This one was actually really fun to make. I think it looks super cute. Moving on to where it starts to get a bit more tricky, we have the mythical section. We have our kiwi tree over here. It's kind of hard to get an angle of. I think this looks adorable. I really love the trees. And then of course we have our moon melons too, which I think look pretty good. I still think they just look like purple presents. Then moving on to my favorite section, we have the divine plants over here. Here we have our mushrooms. They look so adorable. I really love it. It kind of makes me want to make like a mushroom house. I think I'm going to do that soon. But I love these. And then of course we have our candy blossom, my favorite one by far. Annoyingly, the burning bud is right in front of it, so the lighting kind of sucks. But here we have our candy blossom. Actually the cutest thing ever. I love this so much. Then we have our 2 divine plants over here. We have first up our beanstalk, very cute one. I think it looks really good. It was really hard to kind of get the kind of twist and the kind of shrinking in size as it went up, but I think it looks really good. And then of course we have our giant burning bud here. This one was kind of tricky. I think it came out pretty cute though. And then finally we have our only transcendent in the game, our bone blossom here. This one looks really cute, but I mean it is taking up all the good lighting. I kind of wanted to make it bigger, but obviously we had the burning bud to consider, but this is really cute. And that is pretty much all of our Grow a Garden plants. I'm so happy with this. I'm wondering if I can like climb up the beanstalk like I do in game. Oh my god, here we go. Wait, can we get onto this? Oh my god, this is so cute. This is ginormous. But that is pretty much it for today's video. That is all of my Grow a Garden plants in Bloxburg. I really enjoyed this one, so let me know if you'd like to see a part 2, because we have so many plants that we could make in the game. But yeah, that is all for now, so let me know down below which one was your favorite. But that is the end of today's video, so as per usual, a huge shout out to all my channel members, Alicia, Comey, Peach, Milton, Ari, and Matty. Thank you so much for joining the channel, and of course all of my server boosters. We have Ari, Scarlet, Roz, Regan Riot, Worthless Potato, Carla, Carlos, Gamer TV, Z, Milton, Piper, and Denver. Thank you guys so much. And finally, a huge shout out to all of my merch buyers from back in February. Thank you so much for buying the in real life merch drop I did. But anyways, I love you all so much, glossettes, and I will see you next time. XOXO, Glossy Gal.